Sometimes evil doesn't knock loudly. It whispers through cracks, waits in shadows, and scratches until your sanity breaks. Imran didn't realize until too late that silence was his enemy. What would you do if every night someone stood outside your door, writing notes about things only you should know? It was October 5th, 2021, the night after we saw the bloodshot eye through the peephole. Neither of us slept. Imran paced the living room while I sat on the couch, phone in my hand, ready to call the police at the first sign of danger. "I can't do this anymore," he muttered around 6 a.m. as the first pale light bled through the curtains. "This place doesn't feel like home. It feels like a trap." "Then leave," I told him firmly. "Pack your things and stay with me." He shook his head. "It's not that simple. My lease, my job, my life, it's here. If I leave, I'm running forever. I want to know who's doing this." That was Imran's weakness, curiosity. He needed answers more than safety. That evening, he bought a small motion detector camera and fixed it above the door from the inside. He also installed a wooden wedge behind the door in case someone tried forcing it open. I helped him set it up, but deep down, I wondered if we were just delaying the inevitable. The first note of that night came earlier than usual. At 10:54 p.m., something slid under the door with a faint hiss against the tiles. Imran's shoulders stiffened. Slowly, he bent down and picked it up. His face went pale. He handed it to me. In messy scrawl, it said, "Your friend looks scared too." My stomach dropped. Whoever was watching us knew I was there. We exchanged a glance. Imran whispered, "He's outside right now." I pressed my ear to the door. At first, nothing, just silence, and then faintly I heard breathing, slow, heavy, purposeful. "Call the police," I mouthed to him. He nodded, but before he could dial, a loud thud shook the door. We both jumped. Another thud followed, as if a shoulder was slamming against the wood. The wedge held, but the sound was brutal, echoing through the apartment. "Stop!" Imran shouted, voice breaking. "Who are you? What do you want?" No reply, just another violent slam. Then silence again. We waited, trembling, knives in our hands, until the minutes crawled past. Finally, the breathing faded and the hallway fell quiet. When police arrived 20 minutes later, the hallway was empty. No footprints, no signs of forced entry. Just another folded note lying a few feet from the door. This one read, "Cowards hide. I'll wait." The officers gave us tired looks. "Sir, it could be a prankster, someone in the building. We'll increase patrol, but there's little we can do without a suspect." I wanted to scream at them. Couldn't they see how serious this was? But Imran stayed quiet, staring at the note as if it were a death sentence. The next 2 nights blurred together. No notes, no scratching, no knocks. Imran started to think maybe the police patrol scared him off. He even laughed once, nervously, saying maybe he finally got bored. But I didn't believe it. People like this didn't just stop. On October 8th, I stayed home thinking things were calming down. Around 2:30 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was Imran. His voice shook. "He came back." "What happened?" "The note. It's different this time." "What does it say?" There was silence on the line. Then, in a broken whisper, he read it aloud. I miss when you lived with your parents. You slept on the left side of the bed." I froze. The stranger knew details about Imran's old life, things no outsider should know. "Imran, how the hell— I don't know," he cut me off. "How does he know that? He's been watching me longer than I realized." That night marked the turning point. It wasn't just stalking anymore. It was obsession. The following evening, I rushed to his place, refusing to leave him alone again. We sat with the lights off, whispering like children hiding from a monster. Every creak of the building made us flinch. At 1:14 p.m., we heard it. 3 sharp knocks. Not on the door this time, but on the living room window. Imran's head snapped toward the sound. "We're on the 2nd floor," he whispered. Slowly, we turned our heads. Through the gap in the curtain, a pale face stared back at us from the outside, smiling. Imran screamed. I grabbed the nearest object, a lamp, and yanked the curtain shut. By the time we dared look again, the window was empty. We didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, Imran's landlord dismissed our complaints. "Impossible," he said. "No one can reach that window, unless you're saying someone climbed the wall." That was exactly what I was saying. On October 10th, Imran looked like a shell of himself. He hadn't eaten properly in days, hadn't rested. His hands shook constantly. Yet he refused to leave the apartment. "If I leave, he'll just follow me. At least here, I know where he's coming from." That night, around 2 a.m., another note appeared. We didn't even hear it slide under the door. The camera caught it. One moment the floor was empty, the next the paper was there, as if it had materialized out of thin air. The message read, "Tonight I want to come inside." Imran's hands shook so badly he dropped the note. "We're calling the police again," I insisted. "They won't believe us," he whispered. "I don't care. This isn't a joke anymore." Before I could dial, the doorknob rattled violently. We both froze. The wedge held, but the sound of someone trying to twist the lock filled the apartment. "Stop it!" Imran screamed. "Leave me alone!" The rattling stopped. Silence again. Then a whisper, low and hoarse, right outside the door. "Open the door, Imran. I know you're awake." My blood turned to ice. Whoever it was knew his name, his voice, his habits. We didn't open the door, couldn't. The whisper lingered for nearly a minute, repeating the words, before footsteps faded down the hallway. That was the second jump scare, the one that nearly broke us. Imran sat down, clutching his head. "Why me?" he muttered. "Why me?" I didn't know what to say. I only knew one thing. The stranger wasn't going to stop. Some horrors don't end when the door stays locked. They grow stronger with every heartbeat, every sleepless night, until even daylight feels dangerous. Imran was no longer just stalked, he was trapped. What if the person outside wasn't a stranger at all, but someone who already knew you intimately? It was October 11th, 2021, when Imran finally broke down. He hadn't eaten in nearly 24 hours, his eyes bloodshot, his voice hoarse from whispering through nights of fear. I sat beside him on the couch, helpless. He said, "I can't take this anymore. If he wants to come in, let him. At least I'll know who it is." "Don't you dare say that," I snapped.
That's exactly what he wants, to break you. But deep inside, I knew Imran was on the edge. His nerves were shredded, his willpower gone. That night, I insisted on staying over again. I armed myself with a baseball bat I'd brought from home. We double-checked the locks, the wedge, the camera. Still, the fear in the room was suffocating. At 11:36 p.m., the first sound came. A slow, dragging noise along the hallway wall, like someone trailing their fingers as they walked. We sat frozen, listening. At 12:02 a.m., the knock came, soft this time, almost gentle. Imran's phone buzzed immediately afterward, a new message. He stared at the screen, his hand trembling. Then he turned it toward me. It was a picture, a photo of us taken through the living room window just minutes earlier, both of us visible, both unaware. "No one has my number," Imran whispered. "How did he—" The phone buzzed again, another message. "You look scared holding that bat." My grip tightened around the handle. My chest felt like it would collapse. "Call the police," I demanded. Imran obeyed, his hands fumbling. While he spoke to the dispatcher, I crept toward the peephole, my breath caught. He was there, the hooded figure, standing directly in front of the door, head tilted, as if listening. When I moved, the man's head snapped up, and he smiled. I stumbled back. "He's outside, right now!" Imran whispered into the phone, begging the operator to hurry. The man knocked again, soft, patient. When police finally arrived 15 minutes later, the hallway was empty, but the notes weren't. Two lay on the floor. The first read, "You should have opened the door tonight." The second, written in darker ink, said, "I'll come when you're alone again." The officers promised to patrol the area more frequently, but I could see the hopelessness in Imran's eyes. He didn't trust them. He didn't even trust himself anymore. For the next 2 nights, I stayed by his side. We barely slept. No new notes came, no sounds, no knocks. Imran began to believe maybe the stalker had finally given up. But I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched still, that the silence was just another game. On October 14th, I had to return home briefly. My mother was unwell, and I couldn't stay away that night. I promised Imran I'd be back the following evening. He tried to act strong, but I saw the fear flash across his face when I left. That was the last time I saw him alive. The next morning, October 15th, I woke to dozens of missed calls. The landlord, the police, even Imran's office. My chest tightened as I rushed to his building. The apartment door was open when I arrived. Police tape fluttered in the cold air. Inside, the place was wrecked. Furniture overturned, drawers pulled out, glass shattered. And on the living room wall, written in thick black ink, were the words, "He finally opened the door." There was no sign of Imran. The police said there were no signs of forced entry, no fingerprints, no evidence of who had been there. The only thing they found was another folded note on the floor near his bedroom. "You should have stayed." Weeks passed, then months. Imran never returned. No body was found, no suspect was arrested, as if he had vanished into thin air. I still have the notes, every single one of them. I can't bring myself to throw them away, even though touching the paper makes my skin crawl. Sometimes late at night I unfold them again, reading the shaky handwriting, searching for some clue we missed. And then, last week, almost a year later, I awoke at 3:07 a.m. to the sound of paper sliding under my front door. I froze, staring at the folded note on the floor. With shaking hands, I picked it up. The handwriting was the same, messy and jagged. It read, "You tell his story well. I like watching you too." That was 3 nights ago. I haven't slept since. I keep hearing breathing outside my door. And tonight, I swear I heard the doorknob turn.
It was the last week of September, the nights already growing colder, the kind of weather where the streets emptied earlier and silence took over entire neighborhoods. I never wanted to believe this story was real, not until I saw the evidence myself. What I'm about to tell you didn't happen to me, but to someone I knew better than anyone else, my closest friend, Imran. Even now I feel my throat tighten when I remember how it began. What would you do if a stranger knew your name, your secrets, and left you notes under your door every night? Imran was 26 when this happened. We had grown up in the same neighborhood, gone to the same schools, and although our lives had taken different turns, we still met every weekend. He had moved into a small one-bedroom apartment in Lahore, not too far from his office. A quiet, clean building, 3 floors high, tucked away on a street lined with old neem trees. He had told me once that the best part about the place was the silence. No loud neighbors, no kids running around, just peace after long days at work. I remember the first time he called me about it. "Yar, something weird happened last night," he said over the phone. His voice wasn't exactly shaken, more amused, like he wasn't sure if he was overthinking it. "What happened?" I asked, half distracted. "It was around midnight. I heard something slide under my front door. Thought it was just some junk mail, but when I checked, it was a folded piece of paper. Blank. Completely blank." "That's it?" I laughed. "Probably some mistake. Maybe the landlord." "Maybe," he replied, though there was hesitation in his voice. That was Tuesday, September 26th. He brushed it off, and honestly, so did I. People leave flyers, advertisements, random scraps, nothing worth thinking twice about. But that wasn't the end of it. The very next night, at exactly 11:47 p.m., another note slid under his door. He told me this one wasn't blank. When he unfolded it, 4 words were written in shaky handwriting. Quote, "I know your name." Now, you have to understand, Imran's apartment wasn't the kind of place where strangers had easy access. The main gate downstairs stayed locked after 9 p.m. Anyone who entered needed a key. So whoever left that note either lived inside the building or had found another way in. He called me immediately. "Yar, this isn't funny anymore. Someone's messing with me." "Did you see anyone?" I asked. "No, I checked the peephole right after I heard the sound. Hallway was empty." "Maybe it was already there, and you just noticed late." He sighed. "No, I heard it, the paper sliding on the floor, like someone deliberately pushing it." That was the first time I felt uneasy. Imran wasn't the type to scare easily. By Friday, September 29th, things escalated. At 2:13 a.m., he texted me a picture, a crumpled note, the handwriting messier than before, written, quote, "Why don't you open the door when I'm here?" I called him instantly.
He picked up on the second ring, whispering, "I think someone's outside right now. I heard the doorknob move." "Call the police," I hissed. "They won't take me seriously. It's just notes." "Then I'm coming over." "No, don't. It's late. Just stay on the line." I stayed awake with him until nearly 4 a.m. He said the footsteps in the hallway eventually faded, but he couldn't sleep after that. The next evening, Saturday, September 30th, he installed a second lock on his door. He also set up his old phone as a camera, angled toward the hallway through the peephole. That was Imran's way, practical, logical. But the camera only made things worse. On October 1st, 12:21 a.m., he caught the sound again, a faint scrape of paper under the door. This time he waited a few minutes before checking. When he finally picked up the folded note, his hands were shaking. It read, quote, "You look tired when you come home at 8:37. I like to watch you." That timestamp, it was the exact time he had returned from work that evening. Someone had been outside, watching him, tracking his movements. He called me, voice trembling. "How the hell do they know when I get home?" "You need to get out of there," I told him. "I can't just move, Yar. My lease isn't even 3 months old." "Then stay at my place. Don't stay alone." He hesitated, then said, "Let's see what happens tonight." I'll never forget the way he said that. Like he needed proof. Like he didn't want to believe the danger yet. That night, I barely slept. I kept my phone on loud, waiting. At 2:47 a.m., he called me, his voice urgent. "Someone knocked," he whispered. "What?" he said. 3 times, slow, heavy, like they knew I was listening. "Did you check the camera?" "I'm scared to look." "Imran, check it right now." I heard him shuffle, then silence. For a long moment he didn't speak. Then he muttered, "Oh my God. What is it?" "There's a man standing outside, hood over his head. He's just standing there, facing my door." "Call the police right now." I don't want him to hear me." "Imran!" I shouted. But then the line went dead. I called back immediately, but he didn't answer. Those were the longest 15 minutes of my life. Finally, he messaged me. He left, just standing for 5 minutes, then walked away. Police came, but he was gone. When we met the next morning, his face looked drained, his eyes hollow. He hadn't slept at all. He showed me the footage, and I swear my stomach turned cold. The man was tall, wearing a dark hoodie, face hidden, just standing completely still outside Imran's door, not moving, not knocking again, just waiting. "Do you recognize him?" I asked. "No," he said, "and that's what scares me. He knows me, but I don't know him." From that day, I started visiting him every night after work. I thought maybe my presence would help, maybe the stranger would back off. For a while, nothing happened. No notes, no footsteps, no knocks, just silence. Then on October 4th, at exactly 3:03 a.m., everything changed. We were both sitting in his living room, half asleep, when a sharp sound jolted us awake, a loud scratch, like nails dragging across the front door. Imran froze, his eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. Before I could answer, the sound came again, long, slow, deliberate. I stood, my chest pounding. "Who's there?" I called out, trying to sound firm. No answer. Imran grabbed a kitchen knife, his hands trembling. We crept toward the door. The scratching stopped, replaced by silence so heavy it pressed against my ears. I leaned closer to the peephole. My breath caught in my throat. Someone's face was inches from the lens. an eye staring directly back at me, bloodshot, wide, smiling. I stumbled back, swearing, "He's right there!" Imran yanked me away from the door, his face pale. The scratching started again, louder this time, faster, as if whoever it was enjoyed our fear. And then silence. When we finally dared to look again, the hallway was empty. Imran sank into the couch, his knife clattering onto the floor. "What the hell does he want?" he muttered. I didn't have an answer, but one thing was certain. This wasn't just a prank. Someone was hunting him.